We do know them very well, and I think this will be a very different game though, because we've played them twice, once in the Virtue Trophy, once in the league at their place, beaten them both times. But I think because they're coming to St Andrews, be in front of a very big crowd, I think their tactics will be different. I think they'll sit back a lot more. I think so, and I also think we'll see a lot more long balls from them. I don't think they'll mess around at the back.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue, and we're back today with a score prediction video, and we like to do these as often as we possibly can and when the schedule allows. But of course, with the Christmas period just being past and the busyness of the whole festive period and how many games we have, we've struggled to actually fit these in over the last sort of couple of weeks. So we're back today, and as we always say, this is just a little bit of fun between me and Dad. We don't discuss before we come on, and we go back and forth about our score predictions. I take one and then Dad takes one, and we're keeping a rolling tally week on week. So Dad, do you want to give us an update of where we are with the scores? And then also, do you want to take us straight into the first fixture, which is Blackpool versus Huddersfield?
Yeah, okay. So even though we haven't been recording these, we have been still doing score predictions on a fixture by fixture basis. So Matt was starting to have a bit of a comeback the last score prediction video that we did, but I've actually had a really good Christmas and New Year period. So the current scores are: Matt has 152 points. And I'm smiling. I have 170, so I am 18 points clear as we go into this game. I don't know why I'm smiling. Yes, I do, because I'm winning.
I got it back down to about 8, I think. I've lost the 10-point discrepancy again, but
okay,
it's okay.
Well, I'll go into the first fixture then. So Blackpool versus Huddersfield. Yeah, I mean Huddersfield are on a fantastic run of results. Last time they lost was against us in October. And they've got quite a lot of picked up a lot of points there. They're currently fourth in the table. In the last 10 games, won 7 and drawn 3. That is promotion form against the Blackpool side that are so inconsistent. They go on these runs of where they win blocks of games and they have draws and losses. Blackpool are currently 16th in the table. They've actually won 3. They haven't lost that many in the last 10. They've won 3. Drawn 5 and lost 2 in the last, but there's lots of draws are only points, aren't they? I can't see anything than a Huddersfield win here because of the form that Huddersfield are in. They've just signed a new striker from Luton as well.
Yeah,
is it Joe Lewis or something?
Yeah, so 3 million was it?
Yeah, and also I think they're also interested in Sam Smith as well from Reading. So they're looking to give themselves some more firepower. I've gone for Blackpool 1, Huddersfield 3.
Oh, very, very close to me. We're kicking it off with a close prediction. And Dad, you've covered everything perfectly there, I'd say. Huddersfield have got that momentum now. Last time they lost was at St.Andrews. You can't deny that is sensational form, isn't it? Especially with the amount of fixtures over the Christmas and New Year. And as you say, Blackpool are just so unpredictable.
Yeah.
So unpredictable. And they have no problem scoring goals. They're a bit like Peterborough, but on a less drastic scale. But it's the goals they concede.
Yeah.
So I've gone for Blackpool 1, Huddersfield 2.
1-2, okay.
Yeah.
So we both agree that we think that will be a Huddersfield win. Yeah. Okay. Next fixture, Matt, is Bolton Wanderers at home to Cambridge United.
So talking about unpredictable teams, I think you got to throw Bolton in that category as well, haven't you?
You're right. Yeah.
They're very unpredictable. I mean, they're currently in 10th, to be fair, so they're not having a bad season. And we all know Cambridge's woes. They're sitting in 23rd. And there was only one game, this League One game this weekend, or maybe 2, but Bolton was one of them. They lost.
Just one there was.
It was, yeah. Then it was them. They lost away to Rotherham. And from what I'm reading on social media, there was all sorts of fights in the Bolton end. I think it's a pretty bad time to be a Bolton supporter at the moment. So a lot of frustrations around the club, but Cambridge have lost their last 5 games and they're having an absolutely torrid season. So I still can't see anything more than a Bolton win here. I've gone for Bolton 2, Cambridge 0.
2-0. Okay, so I'm just typing that into the spreadsheet now. Yeah, I mean, I was interested. I saw the post-match interview from Ian Evatt, the Bolton manager, after the Rotherham game. And he obviously knows he's under pressure. And he was saying that, what's the point in changing me as a manager? He said, still the same players, still the same attitudes, still the same mistakes. Yeah. So he was laying into his players.
Look at Plymouth. They've just got rid of Rooney and they're doing great.
Yeah.
Well, I say great.
They've only didn't they get an away draw at Stoke, and then they beaten Brentford in the FA Cup.
But still, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my point was when I saw those comments, it did make me laugh. I thought, well, actually, the manager has a massive impact. So I think that was a bit of a naive comment, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think Bolton are a better team than a league position suggests. I mean, they have got some good players. Don't forget they lost in the playoff final last year, and so they're not a bad team, but they're having a really, for their standards, a really poor season. Yeah. They've won 4. drawn 2 and lost 4 of the last 10. As you say, Cambridge. I mean, Cambridge are in terrible form. Like that 5 in a row they lost. They had a really poor start to the season. Then they started to pick up a few points. Now they've drifted off again. I would also suggest that maybe Gary Monk might be on borrowed time there. I heard rumours that he might have got the dreaded vote of confidence, and usually happens after that. But because Bolton are at home, and even though I know Cambridge need to fight for points, I've gone for Bolton 2, Cambridge 1.
Close again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, that brings us on to Bristol Rovers at home to Barnsley.
Well, Bristol Rovers have changed their manager recently, haven't they? They are sitting just one place now above the relegation spaces, but they did win their last game. They are on 25 points, which is 5 points clear of Crawley, who are in that final relegation place. Their current form is not good. In the last 10 games, they've only won 2, drawn 2. And then they've lost 6. So obviously the last one was a win. Barnsley have got a fantastic away record. They currently sit 5th in the table, and they've won 8 of their away games, drawing 1 and only losing 3. So out of 12 games, they've won 8. This is why I think that this is going to be a decent game, because Bristol Rovers have got this new manager. They won their last game. I've gone for a high-scoring game here. I've gone for Bristol Rovers 3, Barnsley 3.
3-3 draw.
Yeah.
Oh, what a cracking game for the neutral.
Yeah.
That
I think if Bristol Rovers are at home, they've got to get themselves more daylight between them and the relegation spaces. And even though Barnsley are really good away, I've gone for 3-3.
Okay. Well, I've gone for. I think even though they've got a new manager, I was really concerned for Bristol, because their players, when they came to us at St.Andrews, didn't look bothered, did they? They didn't look like they wanted to fight. They didn't look like they wanted to run around the pitch.
Yeah.
That's a real concern for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, this manager's going to have his impact, he's going to have his imprint on the team, I get that, but real worry there for Bristol Rovers. I think they're in trouble, actually, if they carry on the rest of the second half of this season. I mean, I think the only thing that might save them is 4 worse teams, but they are in trouble. But Barnsley, I can't see them not winning this, in my opinion. So I've gone for Bristol Rovers 1, Barnsley 3.
1-3.
1-3.
The only thing I would say about Bristol Rovers, we are in the January transfer windows,
Yeah.
and they've already bought in Romain Sawyers, who I think is ex-West Bromwich Albion, so they could bring in some decent players. Okay, so you predicted Bristol Rovers 1, Barnsley 3. So that brings us on to, I think, a really intriguing game next, which is 2 teams in the bottom 4. That's Crawley Town at home to Burton Albion. What's your thoughts on that one?
So this has the makings to be a good game in the context of the 2 teams both in the relegation zone. And actually, in the reverse fixture to this early in this season, it was a 0-0 draw.
Okay.
And for Crawley, there's been no wins in 6, and for Burton, there's been no wins in 7. So, both teams are going to this in absolutely honking form. But we played Crawley, that was our first fixture in the build-up to the Christmas period, and they weren't bad.
They were all right, yeah.
They were all right. I mean, the pitch played a big part. It wasn't a great pitch, I get that. I mean, same for both teams, not making excuses. We still won. But they weren't as bad as what I was possibly anticipating. They actually played football, didn't they?
Yeah.
I was actually quite impressed. And I think that's going to carry them through. I've gone for a home win here. I've gone for Crawley Town 2, Burton Albion 1.
2-1?
Yeah.
Okay, I've plumped for a draw here. I've gone for 1-1.
I can see why.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those games that they're both fight. I mean, obviously, Crawley have 20 points. Burton have only got 14. So the need for both teams for the points is enormous. But Crawley are at home. I just think it's going to be one of those real dogged,
cagey,
fight for everything type of games. I can't see them being separated, which is why I've gone for a draw.
Fair enough. Okay, that brings us on to Mansfield at home to Wickham.
Yeah, so I mean, Mansfield went on a great start to the season and went on a really, really majorly bad run, and now they started to improve. So if you look at their current form, Mansfield, they're currently sitting 9th in the table as we stand. But if you look at their last 6 games, they've won 4, drawn 1, and only lost 1. Yeah. So they're picking up form again, and we know that they're a decent team. I was quite impressed with them when we drew at their place earlier in the season. Wickham, we all know about. I mean, they've had a fantastic season so far. They still sit 2nd, but they lost their last game, didn't they, at home to Huddersfield. And their current form, after going on that real unbeaten run, in their last 6 games, they've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 2.
But what you mentioned, Dad, about Bristol Rovers bringing players in, Wickham have lost a few players.
They've also bought a couple in, haven't they, as well? But I think, they might take time to adjust.
They've lost a few key players though that were on loan.
Yeah, well, I've gone for another high-scoring game here. I've gone for Mansfield 3, Wickham 2.
Okay. So one of us is going to be really embarrassed here because I've gone for the complete opposite. I've gone for a stalemate nil.
Okay.
I've gone for a 0-0.
Okay.
I've gone Mansfield 0, Wickham 0 for again for a lot
Can't
of
see this being 0-0.
for a lot of the reasons. No, well, Wickham. Well, the reason being is because Mansfield don't tend to be involved in many high-scoring games,
Yeah.
and because they're the home team, Wickham are quite attacking minded, but they didn't score against Huddersfield. They've lost, I think, a little bit of that firepower. I think that their player up front, Kone, isn't firing as he has been. I mean, that will turn around at some point, but I'm hoping that sort of drought carries on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got a feeling this screams 0-0.
Okay.
Mansfield 0, Wickham 0.
Okay. Fine. Next match we have Northampton against Lincoln City.
So Northampton are up there, probably on par with Bristol Rovers for me for one of the worst teams we've seen down St.Andrews this season. Again, they did get that draw. It still kills us, don't it, Dad? Are we going to be talking about this on every podcast until the season finishes?
It's the one thing, the one memory of the season so far that I just think, what a waste.
I mean, fair play, Northampton. Of all the teams in this league, you're the one that have haunted me and given me those nightmares this season.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're sitting in 18th, so they're not having a great season. Lincoln are in 12th, but they are in absolutely awful form, aren't they? I mean, we saw them for the FA Cup, Dad, at St.Andrews. They weren't that bad.
No.
They weren't that bad. I don't think 12th is a fair position for them. I mean, well, you could argue fair. They've got the results that they deserve, haven't they? But I think they're a better team than 12th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we saw them in the FA Cup. I think they're stronger than Northampton, even away. I don't think there's going to be many goals in this. I've gone Northampton 0, Lincoln City 1.
And that's the first one. We've got exactly the same. I've gone for the same reasons. I mean, you could look at league form. I mean, looking at Lincoln's current form for the last 10 games, they've only won one. They've won one, drawn 3, and lost 6. But based upon their performance against us in the FA Cup and what we saw when we went to their place, in my honest opinion, think they're a better team than Northampton.
Yeah, agreed.
Even though Northampton did get that point against us.
I think they're tidier. They're better set up.
Which is why I've gone for the 1-0. So I'm not going to dwell on that too much because, we both agree that that's going to be what we think the score will be.
Okay, that brings on to Peterborough at home to Leyton Orient.
I'm in a way, I feel sorry for Peterborough. They've had so many injuries that they are really struggling. They're in 19th in the table at the moment. Currently, only the level on points with the team below them, Bristol Rovers. The next position below that is the relegation spaces. So they're in a bad place at the moment, Peterborough, against a Leyton Orient team that are in real resurgence. This is like one of the worst form teams against one of the best form teams. So just to let you know about Peterborough, so out of the last 10 games, they've lost 7. Won 2 and drawn 1.
Shocking, isn't it?
Leyton Orient and their manager Richie Wellens won Manager of the Month for this, but they have in the last 8 games they've won 7 and drawn 1. That's promotion form. In fact, that's taken right up to 8th in the table, only 4 points below the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I've predicted here that the form will continue. I've gone for Peterborough 1, Leyton Orient 2.
Oh, again, very close. I mean, by the way, though, we're Birmingham City supporters, and our manager is obviously Chris Davies. I still think Richie Wellens deserves that award.
Yeah.
Because of the context.
Yeah.
What he's done at Leyton Orient for that month has been absolutely. And you got to remember that this is over Christmas, where you're playing 5 games in about 14 days. This is a very intense period. So he's done absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair play to
Chris
him.
Davies has to win a manager of the. Maybe he'll get manager of the year once if we win the league.
He ain't going to be bothered,
No, he's not. He's not.
If we get promotion, he won't give a hoot about being where he's manager of the month. It doesn't matter what other people think.
No.
It's what
my point is, fair dues, that Leyton Orient, Richie Wellens, he's a good manager.
Yeah.
And we've said in this podcast, that especially me, to be fair, especially since the start, Leyton Orient are a much better team than the position that they've been at the start of the season.
Yeah. We played them right at the start of the season, didn't we? At their place. We did win.
And they had a passage of fire to this season. They played Huddersfield, Wrexham, Blues. They had Wickham. I think they had pretty much all the top teams in the first sort of 6 weeks. So that's why, in my opinion, they were kind of hovering down under the radar for a little bit. I agree with you. I think this is going to continue. Poor Peterborough, as you say, with the injuries. So Peterborough 1, Leyton Orient 3.
That's quite close as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Next match, we have Reading at home to Stockport.
I mean, in terms of league position, this is as close as it gets. I mean, Reading are in 6th and Stockport are in 7th.
Yeah.
So very, very close game on paper. Reading, when they lost their manager, I thought they were going to tail off, but they're not in bad form. They did lose the first game, I think, or the second game after he had left to go to Hull. But Sellers, he's a good manager, that went to Hull. But I think that both of these teams have impressed me during certain parts of the season. Stockport aren't in very good form. They've only won 1 of their last 6. And Reading have had 3 wins in the last 6. So Reading, in terms of form, slightly better. League position, slightly better. So I think this is going to be a very, very narrow win for Reading. I've gone for Reading 1, Stockport 0.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Reading are another team, aren't they? You know, the rumours that Sam Smith might be going to Huddersfield, and they're a team that, because of their ownership situation, I think they're selling because they need the money to keep the club running. I don't know the exact situation, but again, we do stand with the Reading fans. You know, a club that's obviously under poor ownership, and they just want to get rid of the owner. And if they start losing players and don't replace them, the inevitable outcome of that is that they are going to start to lose games, aren't they, and drop points. But they have done amazingly well. I was very impressed with them. They're the first team to come to St.Andrews at the beginning of the season, and they were very, very good. And that draw was justified, really, because they're the first team we played. We didn't know much about League One when we played them.
They were decent.
They're a decent team against a Stockport team that, as you say, have started to tail off a bit now. They've lost Louis Barry. He's gone back to Aston Villa, who he's probably going to be sold to a Championship club by the looks of it. Like you said, in the last 6 games, they've only won 1, drawn 2 and lost 3. I've gone for, it's like you, a narrow win, but I've gone for Reading 2, Stockport 1.
Okay, very close again. That brings on to our next game, and that's Rotherham at home to Charlton. What are your thoughts for this?
Yeah, Rotherham are starting to pick up a little bit now. They are in the last 6 games, well, in fact, the last 4 games, they've drawn 2 and lost 2. They'd lost 2 previous them. So in 6 games, it's 1-2, drawn 2, lost 2. But in the last 4, they've drawn 2 and won 2. So they're starting to climb the table a little bit, because they were hovering just above the relegation spaces at one point. They're in 13th at the moment against the Charlton team that are also improving. I mean, Charlton now are up to 11th. And they've won 3 and drawn 3 of the last 6.
Yeah.
So they're both teams in a reasonably good form, which is why I've gone for a draw.
Yeah.
I've gone for Rotherham 1, Charlton 1.
Again, so excuse me, very, very similar. And again, I'm not going to waste any more time going through this. I think this has got 0-0 written all over it. You know, sometimes when you look back on a score and you go, how on earth didn't I recognise that as a 0-0? Yeah. This could be one of them. If not 1-1, I agree with you that it could be a few goals, but I don't know. I'm going to go.
Won't be many goals.
No, very low scoring game. Like you watched before 4. Knowing me and you. Yeah. But I've gone for Rotherham 0, Charlton 0.
0-0. Okay. 0-0. Next match, we've got Shrewsbury versus Wrexham.
Some Wrexham fans might not like this comment, but I mean it in goodwill and good gesture. But quite similar teams in terms of they're very direct, very physical. They like to get a lot of balls in the box. They are happy to sit out of possession, like to catch you on the break. All those different features that you see of a lot of League One teams. But obviously, complete opposite end of the table here. You know, Wrexham are having a great season. Their home form is fantastic. Yeah. Shrewsbury are really struggling. Even with Ainsworth at the wheel, it's looking pretty grim, I think, for them. You know, apart from the game against Blues, Dad, I don't think they've won it. They've won 1 game since the game against Blues, so they've lost or drew all the others. So, you know, not in great form. Wrexham are an interesting team, amazing at home form, but their away form isn't great, is it? And this is where they'll get undone, I think, this season. However, Wrexham are a better team than Shrewsbury this season, so I've gone for Shrewsbury Town 0, Wrexham 2.
0-2?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to have too much quality, I think, in the end.
Yeah, like you say, Wrexham's away form is what they've got to really improve, and it's going to be teams like Shrewsbury they're going to have to beat because they're you can't argue with their home record. They've won 12 and drawn 2 of their 14 games, but away they've won just 3, drawn 4 and lost 4. So they're going to look at this fixture. If we have any aspirations of automatic promotion, we've got to beat Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury, as you said, I mean, it was a shock when they beat us. I think that's the biggest surprise of the season when they beat us. Don't get me wrong, we deserve to lose that game.
Yes.
Not saying no. But they beat us.
They did.
But in the last 10 games, they've won 2, drawn 3 and lost 5. In fact, they have tightened up a little bit because in the last 5, apart from the last game, they've drawn 3, won 1 and lost 1. So Ainsworth has made them a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
But they're still 8 points adrift of safety. They're at home against a team that will be really up for this. They'll see this as a must-win game. I've gone for a Wrexham win as well, though. You went 0-2. I've gone Shrewsbury 1, Wrexham 2.
Nice.
So
close game again.
Very, very close game again. But I can't see Wrexham not winning that game.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
So that brings on to Stevenage at home to Wigan. What are your thoughts for this one?
Well, Stevenage are one of them teams we haven't played yet because we've been rearranged, haven't we?
And Cambridge.
Cambridge, yeah. You know, we've got to play them twice. They're okay. They're very much your stereotypical mid-table team this season, aren't they? They're sitting 14th in the table at the moment, but they're current. their current form ain't bad, but the problem is they're drawing too many games. So if you look at their last 10 games, they've won 3, lost 2, but drawn 5. And that's 1 point for a draw, 3 points for a win. You get them draws, it doesn't really take you anywhere. They're at home to Wigan, who we actually beat 3-0 fairly comprehensively a few weeks ago at their place. And we're not, they're very inconsistent. I like Wigan as a team. I like what the type of football they try to
Yeah.
play. But I think in this game, because they're away, and I think Stevenage are a better home team. Stevenage have won 7, drawn 2 and lost 4. So they've got a really good home record, Stevenage. I've gone for Stevenage 2, Wigan 1.
Again, very, very close. But for a lot of the reasons you listed, Dad, Stevenage are never involved in high-scoring games. They don't actually score a lot of goals, but they're very good defensively, so they don't concede a lot of goals either. And Wigan are, like you said, a bit like Exeter. They're a team I respect. They try and play football. I like what they try and do. The execution's a bit poor, but at least they try and have a go, and they try and create chances. However, I think that draw pattern is going to continue, because Wigan are a good side. We just completely nullified them and outplayed them in the end. So I've gone for Stevenage 1, Wigan 1.
Okay.
1-1 draw.
Okay, and finally, brings us on to our own Birmingham City at home to Exeter City.
Yeah, so we know Exeter well now, don't we? In terms of this season, we've played them twice on their turf, so this is the return fixture at St.Andrews. I think their negatives really play into our positives. I think this game complements us, especially being at St.Andrews. They play it from the back. They like to keep hold of possession. And you've seen Blues fans have seen our intense energy when we press. We cause them no end of bother at their place. So I'm actually going to continue the theme. I think I predicted this for the last I predicted it for the last game, but it was the last result. So against Wigan, it was 3-0. I didn't predict that. Against Swindon, I predicted 3-0. I'm going to continue that. I'm going to go Birmingham City 3, Exeter 0. Exeter City 0.
Yeah, okay. So we do know them very well, and I think this will be a very different game though, because we've played them twice, once in the Virtue Trophy, once in the league at their place, beaten them both times. But I think because they're coming to St Andrews, be in front of a very big crowd, I think their tactics will be different. I think they'll sit back a lot more. I think so. And I also think we'll see a lot more long balls from them. I don't think they'll mess around at the back. They've been caught out twice doing that
against us. Yeah.
So then they're going to be like when they need to clear the ball. So I think we're going to have it's going to be a really high possession for us, and it's going to be a case of us breaking them down. They're actually down now in 15th in the table. Current form out of the last 10, they've lost 6. 1-2 and drawn 2, but they've lost the last 2 as well. But last week they beat knocked Championship side Oxford out of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So they have got results in them. But again, we're at home. I can't see anything past a win for Birmingham City here. And also our defensive record is brilliant.
Yeah.
In the last 9 games, we've conceded 2 goals in the whole of our home and away games in the league. I've gone for Birmingham City 2, Exeter City 0.
Yeah, it's like the famous. You could predict Blues 2-0 all the games this season. I reckon you're probably going to get about 60% right.
I think a lot of fans will look at this and think, like a lot of other fixtures, it should be 4, 5, whatever. But you can't do that, because these teams come to St Andrews and really have a go. So they're a tough nut to crack. And I like Exeter. I think they as a footballing team, they try to play football the right way, don't they?
Same. I completely agree. They're a team I respect.
Yeah, which is why I think this will be a lot tighter than people think. But I still think it's going to be a victory for Birmingham City.
I agree, and I disagree with what you're saying. I think they will come and be a bit more defensive. They will park the bus. But their DNA, the way the manager sets them up, is to play football. So they can't deviate too much, because that's what they practice on the training pitch. So, I don't know. There's something in this game, and again, I've been really conservative in my predictions. I still think 3-0 it's a convincing win, but it's not a hammering. I think the way they play, it just plays into our hands.
If they play like that.
If they play like that. And I think it'll be a 50-50 split. They'll try and play a little bit, but they will, if in doubt, be a bit more direct.
Yeah, I think the tactics will be different. I think they have to be, because they've always, like I say, we're a team that they know now, that they've played us twice. And I don't think in either game we've played our strongest team against them, because if you remember, the Exeter League game was when Chris Davis changed the system, putting Bielek at right back and putting Ben Davis in the team.
Did.
And that's when everything started to, because that was after the Shrewsbury game, wasn't it? So that everything started to go uphill from there for us.
Yeah, that was where our clean sheet started to come from. That was the first game.
Yeah, which is why I think we'll get a clean sheet here as well. But I still think, as always, at home, no team has come to us, has been frightened to at least either part the bus or or try and catch it on the break. I think that's what Exeter will do here as well.
Yeah, agreed. So, anything else, Dad, or should we happy to wrap the video up there?
No, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the Blues fans think about the
Yep.
score prediction, and any other fans as well watching the video. If you want to give us your score predictions for your teams, how you think you'll get on, then pop in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of did the outro for me there a little bit. But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And any other supporters from any other clubs who have been mentioned today in these fixtures, please let us know your thoughts as well. And please bear in mind, this genuinely is just a little bit of fun that we have every week, and we try and record them as much as we can. But if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also on Spotify now, so you can check us out over there. And please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell notification as well, so you get notified every time we post a video. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.